Hello everyone, a very good afternoon. So guys, today we are going to analyze the economic survey that came day before yesterday, and we are going to see that what all is there in this economic survey. See guys, first of all, let me make few things clear. Economic survey is a sort of a report card. That means the financial year 2025 that started from 1st of April 2025 and will end on 2026 31st March. It's a report card of that. Okay. Economic survey always comes before the union budget, right? Maybe a day before, maybe 2 or 3 days earlier. Okay. So this time it came, and we are going to see that how Indian economy performed in the year 2025 to 2026. It's a report card. Whereas if we talk about the budget, union budget, so union budget is always for the upcoming year, the year which has not started yet. Union budget is for that. Okay. Whereas economic survey is for the previous year which has passed, the report of that year, that how economy performed in the several areas in that particular year. That's what economic survey is about. Economic survey is prepared by the CEA, that is Chief Economic Advisor of India, and it is approved by the Union Finance Minister, that is Nirmala Sitharamanji, right? So now let's get started. So as I told you, it's the annual official reports on the state of Indian economy, reviews macroeconomic trends. What do we mean by macroeconomic trends? Like employment, like production, growth, inflation, all these factors, etc. Right? Sectoral performance, dividing the economy into different sectors and how economy has performed in it, and emerging challenges and what all are the challenges for the economy. Okay. Covers development in the financial years coming to a close. So as I told you, it's about that year which is about to close. It talks about that year. So this time the economic survey is for 2025-26. Acts as analytical foundation for policy making. And yes guys, the union budget, it is inspired by the economic survey. The things that are pointed out in the economic survey, the ministry takes cognizance of it and uses it to make the union budget. Okay. It's not necessary that all the recommendations of the survey are accepted by the finance ministry and used in the budget. But yes, some of the recommendations, maybe more, maybe less, are yes, definitely used. Okay. Preparation, it is prepared by the Economic Division, Department of Economic Affairs, DEA, under the guidance of Chief Economic Advisor, CEA. And it is approved by the Union Finance Minister, as I already told you, and laid before Parliament just before the Union budget. If we talk about the historical background, so first economic survey was presented in the year 1950-51. Okay. From 1950 to 64, this economic survey, which was presented in the parliament, it was presented along with the union budget, right? From 1964 till date, presented one day before the budget. So that's what the trend is, that now the budget comes on 1st of Feb. So economic survey comes on 31st of Jan. But this time it came 2 days earlier. Okay. Purpose to provide analytical to budget proposals. As I told you, it analyzes the data. See, understand it in this way. Budget forecasts or plans out that what all government has to do in the upcoming year. That's what budget is all about. So this year's budget would talk about 2026 to 2027, the policies, how to implement it, what all government is seeing. All these things would be there in the budget, which is going to come tomorrow, right? And economic survey, which will come next year in 2027, it will tell you that the policies that government made, the endeavors that government took, how much of that was successful and what all or what and where we failed or where we needed to improve. So, budget is a plan, survey is the report card of observing that whether that plan was implemented successfully or not. Okay. See, initially from 2000, initially if I talk about from let's say 5051, so initially the survey was presented in one volume, right? But from 2010, 11 to 2020, 21, the survey was presented in two volumes, volume 1 and volume 2. So if you go through the surveys before 21, 22, you'll observe them in two volumes, volume 1 and volume 2. I made or analyze the videos. So we did it in two parts because there were two volumes. But after 2021-22, now the survey, the present CEA, he presents single volume and survey is presented in the single volume itself. Significance of the economic survey, as I told you, that government may or may not accept the recommendations of the survey. It is not binding. It is not a compulsion on government to accept all the recommendations that have been given in the survey. So it is not binding. But yeah, it is a sort of guideline. It tells the government the way from where it has to proceed. Getting my point? Is still the most authoritative internal government analysis. Survey is the best medium, and that is why it is so important for your exams, whether it is economics optional, whether it is IES, whether it is GS, right? It is very important for that. Why? Because this is the most authentic and authoritative analysis done by the government itself. Yeah, CEA works under the finance minister. So this is sort of internal auditing that is done by the government, and it gives you very clear picture in terms of facts and figures. Okay, not in the terms of theories, rather facts to support what it is saying. Fine. Provides official economic diagnosis. As I said, it is done by the government only. The part of government does it. So, evidence-based policy evaluation, they give you facts, figures, evidences, identification of structural constraints and priorities. What are the priorities where we have to shift our focus, right? Where we need to improve ourselves, what are the constraints where we are lagging, all these things are pointed out in a survey. Importance of policy and examination serves as a base document for budget interpretation. As I told you, it is, you can take it as a sort of guidelines, as a sort of blueprint based on what the budget will be presented, right? Reflects the government's economic thinking. And obviously, you come to know that government is prioritizing which sector, where in this sector the spending of government is more, right? Or if we talk about the future, so looking at the present, we can see that in the future, in which aspect government is planning to spend more, in which aspect government is planning to propagate more. All these things become clear with the help of survey. It is crucial for, as I told you, UPSC prelims, mains, optional, essay, interview. In interviews also they ask the questions from you. Okay. Then state of the economy pushing the growth frontier. So that's what our survey is. Okay. Global economy policy increasingly driven by security concerns and geopolitical considerations. So it is saying that if we talk about global economic policies, if we look at the world today and we observe the present scenario, present global scenario. So today, the world trade or international trade is in sort of turmoil, right? And we all know due to Trump, due to USA, there is a turmoil that has been created. So now, and there are so many wars that are being fought at several ends. Different countries are engaged in the war, or the countries, many countries who are actually not doing the war, they are presently in the state of Cold War with some other nation. So, today the global economic policy is increasingly driven by security concerns. That is why in such circumstances, security becomes prima facie, right? And geopolitical considerations. Efficiency and multilateralism are being deprioritized, creates a new global economic order. And under all these circumstances, a new global economic order is emerging. Key global trends affecting India. Now, what are the key aspects or key trends that are actually affecting us? Intensifying geopolitical conflicts, as we saw in case of Trump, 50% imposition of tariffs on India, and threats to further increase these tariffs. It was a sort of provocative step taken by US. US was trying to dictate the terms that we should stop buying Russian oil. Yeah, now that is our internal matter, but US was trying to influence that. Weaponization of energy and finance, we saw this earlier. Pre-Trump, trade was a different thing, that is economics. Politics is a different thing, right? Both affected each other, influenced each other, but never the world saw that trade will be used, commerce and finance will be used as a weapon to threaten another nation and to compel another nation to work as you say. Right? Using trade and tariff as weapons is the first observance by the world under the Trump, that trade can be used as the weapon. Export controls on critical and emerging technologies. We also see this. The emerging technologies, the restraint has been put by US and other countries as well, that their export should be controlled so that other nations, the developing nations like India, we do not get excess of all of it. Right? This is a new thing that is being observed. Growing skepticism towards free trade. Now, free trade is something that is getting out of the picture day by day. The world is slowly and gradually moving actually backwards towards the protectionism measures. What is this tariff? It is a protectionist tool, right? And I would say that many nations, including European Union, India, many of the nations, they have shown a lot of patience till now. Else, reciprocation of tariff would have started, and that would have waged a tariff war, right? So, free trade is slowly and gradually moving out of the scenario. Rising competition for critical minerals, and we all know that if we talk about the rare earth minerals, if we talk about the metals, China is the biggest producer and supplier of it. And now China is using this aspects of its economy to control other economies, to blackmail other economies. So this is one more thing that is emerging. Implications for India: global shifts pose economic risks, strategic opportunities. See, the shift that I told you, which is occurring on day-to-day basis, it actually gives us the strategic opportunities. Yeah, there are economic risks, and we observed recently that our export in textile has decreased, right? But not the overall. I'm talking about the particular months after the imposition of tariff. But again, in every disaster, in every problem, there is a solution if you look for it. So there are still many ways open for us, and we saw that India entered into a very big trade deal with the European Union, referred as mother of all deals, right, by the president of European Union. Yeah. So why is this? Why was this possible? See, you have to understand one thing. European, what do you think that this deal which has been signed, which has been approved, when the conversation and negotiation for this deal started, it did not start 6 months or 1 year or 2 years back. Been going on from past 17, 18 years, right? From 2007. But European Union was hesitant on several fronts. India was hesitant on several fronts. There were matters in which both disagreed. There were many such sectors, and the deal never reached the finalization state. But the acts that were done by Trump, it actually acted as the accelerator, and a deal was signed. Right? So these risks, economical risks, they are also opening new gates, new avenues for us, economic strategies, right? India's challenge, navigate geopolitical uncertainty. See, India has always followed, since our independence, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, he initiated the policy of non-alignment in each and every front. We are the nation who has to look for our welfare first. We can be the very good friend or ally of any other nation, but that doesn't mean that we will rule our country or we will govern our country. We will frame policies of our country based on the narratives of some other country. No, we are a sovereign country, right? We have to look for our own benefits, right? So that's why we are not going to align with any nation. We will not be ally of any nation. Right. And this policy is the policy, Indian foreign policy is actually revolves around this circumcenter. And that's what India is doing as of even today. We are not aligned with anyone. We are out there to look for our own interest. And that's what India has to do here. Secure supply chains. We have to look for our supply chains. Our supply chains should not get disturbed due to these geopolitical tensions. Push the growth frontier through resilience and reforms. If reforms are necessary to accelerate the growth, to maintain steady growth, we have to do the reforms. If we have to show resilience, as India displayed resilience in case of US, right? We will exhibit resilience. But anyhow, we have to push our growth forward. Getting my point? The contents, as I told you, there are 15 chapters in which the survey is being divided. We are going to do all the chapters one by one, and I'll tell you that what all is there, what is the inference and important factors and points of that chapter. Okay. So first chapter is state of the economy, pushing the growth frontier. As I told you, this time's economic survey, the cover page even, if you look at the cover page, the map of India is drawn and everywhere you'll see the cargoes. What is that? It is talking about export. It is talking about trade. So that's the first chapter even. So global policy is increasingly shaped by security and political considerations rather than efficiency or multilateral rule. Initially, the global policies were based on multilateralism. Okay, it was based on the efficiency, and that's what we study even in trade, starting from classicals. Yeah, Adam Smith, that efficiency increases with international trade. Now these macroeconomic things have been given up, and now world is framing the global policies based on the security and political connections. And that's bad for the global economy. Right. Here is a chart which is showing you the disruptions based on year October 5, October 9, 13, 17, 21, 23. It is showing you the global disruptions or the state of turmoil. If you observe the graph, see, it's upward trending. Look, the index is showing 600 as of now. So such high is the state of disturbance. Intensifying geopolitical conflicts, energy and finance weaponization. I discussed all these things with you already, that energy and finance are used as weapons, and the global conflicts are increasing. Everywhere you look at any part of the world, either a war is being fought or the countries are in the preparation for fighting a war, or they are fighting a war in other fronts of trade. Export controls on technology, right? Skepticism about free trade. Now, free trade is becoming something that is being despised. Competition for critical minerals. These are the factors which govern global trade as of now. deteriorating primary balances, percentage of GDP across the world. Now you see, if we talk about the primary balances across the world and you look at the countries, so their primary balances are coming down year by year, whatever country it is. Their primary balance is decreasing. Okay. Then rising sovereign yields across the world. Now you see, if you talk about the sovereign yield, so green color is UK, you can see here. Blue color is China, declining. You can see of Japan, this is Japan. Sovereign bonds, yeah, you yield you get on the government bonds. That's what it is talking about. Okay. You can look at any country, it is declining, declining, declining. Okay, okay. But pay attention. I'm coming to the next chart. But if we talk about India, India is, despite of all these things, where tensions are rising in the world, there is a state of turmoil that we saw in the first case. Secondly, throughout the world, the primary balances of all the economies, major economies are decreasing. The sovereign yield is increasing. And how sovereign yield increases? Sovereign yield increases if interest rate increases. Yes or no? When bonds start giving more interest, then yield will be high, obviously. And bonds are giving more interest. What is the meaning of it? The meaning is that investments are declining. First, capitalists are not going to borrow the money at such high rates of interest. So investments throughout the world are decreasing, right? That's what the survey tells us. But if you look at India, so India is showing a very promising growth. We are expecting the growth rate of 6.8 to 7.2% in the financial year 2027. That is 2026 to 2027, right? And if you look at the financial year 2025, our growth rate was 7.4%, and it is much more than what was expected and forecasted. Okay. So from 25 to 26, our GDP growth rate was 7.4%. It will decline a bit in 26, 27, but still it will land somewhere between 6.8 to 7.2%, which is very good if we observe the scenario throughout the world. Okay. Now, private consumption and investment are drivers of Indian growth. If we talk about the private consumption, so you can see from the years financial year 2016 till financial year 2025, you can see our presently, if we start from 16, it was 59. Now we are at 61.5. Our private consumption has increased, right or wrong? If we talk about the investment, so year-wise investment, if you will see from 16, 28.7 to 2023, where it was 31.2, and then 2024 it declined, but again it is reaching the 30s and above 30s. Okay. If we talk about growth in real gross value added, that is GVA. Guys, GVA actually talks about the production, the manufacturing, how much value is being added to it, right? How much new production is being done. That's what GVA is all about. So see, if we talk about total GVA, so it has reached 7.3% in comparison to previous year, which was 6.4, in comparison to previous year, which was 6.4. Okay, our agricultural GVA from 2024 it was 45, 4.5, sorry, now it is 4.6. And this green color is actually talking about financial year 26. And let me remind you, 26 has not even started yet. Financial year 26 has not started yet. It will start from 1st of April 2026. But here the green color is representing only 3 months, that is January, February and March. That's why the green color figures you might observe to be a bit low. But when you will take entire year into consideration, even today it is showing 3.1%. So in the remaining 9 months, it will bypass the 4.6%. 4.6 is for financial year 2025, right? So see, Financial year 2025, 4.6% was the GVA in agriculture. It is higher in comparison to 2024, and in 2026 it is 3.1 till now. Industry GVA again 0.5% higher than 2024, that is 5.9%, and till now 6.2%. Okay. Services GVA decreased a bit in the year 2025, but again it is going to be much higher. It is going to compensate this one, and it will be much better in 2026-7, that is it is going to be 9.4%. Getting my point? Reforms Express pushes India's potential GDP to 7%. As I told you, capital accumulation, sustained capex, our capital expenditure is continuously increasing. And in the upcoming slides, I'll show you this. The survey tells us that from 2014-15, our capital expenditure has continuously increased. Guys, there are two types of expenditure that are being performed by the government. One is the revenue expenditure, which are recurring and which are used. Revenue expenditure neither create assets nor do they reduce the liability. So revenue expenditure is the operational expenditure that is being carried on by the government. Examples of revenue expenditure: paying salaries to the government employees, paying pensions to the retired government employees, paying interest. Okay, these operational day-to-day expenses come under the revenue expenditure. So revenue expenditure is never going to lead to the growth. Okay, what is capital expenditure? Capital expenditure is that expenditure which will increase the assets and will reduce the liabilities. So the growth of the country is actually very much dependent on the capital expenditure. So if capital expenditure done in the country by the government is more, that means government is focusing on the growth of the country. So that's what the survey is saying, that we are accumulating capital. How? Because we are continuously increasing our capex, our private investment is reviving, and government is undertaking several logistics reforms as well. Labor input, greater formalization. We saw, I made a video there also, last year's budget. There were certain policies made by the government, and even tomorrow we will see in the budget. I'll analyze the budget day after. Even tomorrow, when we will see at the budget, government is working on this end to make laws for labor safety related to their employment. The laws which are friendly to the labor as well as to the entrepreneur, right? The environment should be amiable, where both of them can work without any obligation or without any threats. So government is working on those ends, and we are seeing it. So greater formalization, that is why more and more laborers are joining the formal sector. Implementation of labor codes, right? Skilling and employability, government has taken several steps in this area. The skill centers have been developed. Yeah, the condition is not that good, but actually the initiatives are being taken, and as the year pass by, we will see the result in that end as well. Because we have got a lot of labor force, we just need to increase their skills. Okay. Total factor productivity, that is digital public infrastructure, and you might have observed in past few years, day by day, the digital infrastructure is expanding in India. Regulatory simplifications and efficiency gains. Second chapter is fiscal development, anchoring stability through credible consolidation. Okay, fiscal policy as a key anchor. Fiscal policy, government policy, which affects the economy, that is called fiscal policy. Okay, fiscal policy as a key anchor of macroeconomic stability and confidence. Okay, so if you look here, the green color is representing the fiscal deficit. What is fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is the total expenditure done by the government minus total earning except borrowing. Okay, we do not include borrowing here. Total expenditure minus total receipt except borrowing. Why? Because whatever is the fiscal deficit, that much amount only government borrows. So green color is representing the fiscal deficit, and red color line that you are observing, this pink color, it is representing the primary deficit. What is primary deficit? If you remove the interest payments from the this expenditure and revenue thing, okay, if you remove the interest that you are paying, then what you get? You get the primary deficit. That means internally how much in deficit you are if you remove the interest. Anyway, so starting from year 2020, you can see in financial year 20, 4.6% was the fiscal deficit. Then it increased, obviously, Corona period, 9.2%, 6.7. Then in 22, 6.7. In 23, 6.5. In 24. Now after 23, it started declining. It was 5.5%. And what this percentage of GDP, right? Fiscal deficit, primary deficit are expressed. I hope you know this. But anyways, fiscal deficit, primary deficits are expressed as the percentage of GDP. So in 2020, 4.6% of GDP, 21, 9.2% of GDP, 22, 6.7% of GDP, 23, 6.5%, 24, 5.5% of GDP, 25, the first phase, 4.8% of GDP, first 6 months. And these 6 months, 4.4% of GDP. So see, it is declining, and that's a good sign. If you look at the primary deficit, which was maximum again in 21, that was 5.7%, but now it has reached 0.8%. And the best part is, it is even better than the scenario which was there in 2020 pre-COVID. So that's a recovery that we have done. In fact, we have improvised here. Now, if we talk about prudent fiscal management as the key driver behind the sovereign credit rating upgrades. Okay, so guys, if you look at the Morningstar, S&P Global Rating, or R&I Japan, if you look at all these places, these are the international agencies which rate the countries, you will observe that rating of India has improved. Now it has reached medium level country status according to your S&P Global Rating, Standard and Poor's, right? So we have improved our revenue buoyancy. That means we have increased the sources of revenue. More and more people are coming into the system. They are entering the formal economy, and now they are paying the taxes. Okay. Continued emphasis on capex. We are focusing on the capital expenditure, as I told you. Improved fiscal transparency. Now, government has improved the transparency. You know what steps government are taking. You can access the things. Okay. Continued deficit reduction along a credible path, and you saw it. The deficit is reducing day by day. Now, sustained revenue buoyancy and broadening of the direct tax base. See, guys, there are two sorts of taxes. I hope you know that. One is your indirect, another is your direct. Now, indirect taxes like GST and all, this is regressive in nature. Why? Because if there is a biscuit of 10 rupees and a rich man pays it, so rich man purchases that 10 rupee biscuit. So rich man is going to pay the same amount of tax as the poor man who is going to purchase this 10 rupee biscuit is going to pay. Now that is a sort of discrimination, because rich man is earning a lot more income. So if you find out the percentage of tax that he is paying based on his income, so for rich man that will be very low. But if you will find out the percentage of indirect tax paid on that biscuit by a poor man based on his income, it will be very high. So it is actually reverse. Actually, reverse is happening here. Poor is paying more percentage of tax, rich is paying less percentage of tax. That's why indirect taxes are regressive. So the agenda of all the government, or strategy of all the governments throughout the world, is to bring more and more people under the umbrella of direct taxes. Okay, direct taxes are progressive in nature, indirect taxes are regressive in nature. So you can see that pre-pandemic average before COVID, 52% was under the direct taxes 52% and 48% was under indirect taxes. But now see, in the financial year 25, 59%, 7% increase in the direct taxes and 7% decrease. And this is about the number of people, okay, that have come under this umbrella. So 7% increase we observe in the direct taxes and 7% people have decreased in the case of indirect taxes. That is the step because of the steps and policies of the government. Now, if we talk about revenue receipt to GDP, okay, revenue receipt to GDP. So from year 2016 to 2020, it was 8.5%. Revenue receipt. You know what is revenue receipt? The money collected by government in the form of taxes and non-taxes. Taxes are direct and indirect. Non-taxes means the fees, the challans, right? Profit, dividend the government gets from the money it has invested. Okay. So our revenue receipt as a percentage of GDP was 8.5% from 2016 to 2020. It has risen to 9.1% from 2022 to 2025, right? If you talk about the gross tax revenue as a percentage of GDP, it was 10.8% from 2016 to 20. Now it is 11.5%. Okay. If you talk about non-corporate 2.4% of GDP, now it is 3.3% of GDP, right? In 2021-22, how many people filed income tax return? 6.9 crore people filed in 2021-22. That's why I used to say 7 CR only pay the taxes. Now it has risen to 9.2 crores. Okay. Next is robust transaction momentum under GST, even as gross GST collections track nominal GDP growth. So if you see year wise 23, 24, 25, 26, this is the revenue in crores. Okay. And if you observe in 2023, it was 80 crores. In 2024, 16. Then 2025, 16.6. But now see, it is going to rise to 21. Okay. That is 115 crores would be coming from your e-way bill generation. And if we talk about, okay, this is e-way bill generation. That's why the figure is small. If we talk about the total GST, gross GST, so, and the figure is in lakh crores. So in 2023, it was 12.8 lakh crore. In 2024, it increased, was about 15 lakh crore. In 2025, you can see it is somewhere between, it has actually decreased. It is 12 lakh crore, okay, from April to December. And it is further going to decrease in the financial year 2026. It would be in the range of 8 or 9 lakh crore. Okay. So that's what was said, that GST that is being given, it is decreasing as of now. This is the figure. Now, GST 2.0 reforms and impact. There were certain reforms that were being taken by the government. Two-rate structure. Government designed two rates, 18% and 5% slabs. 18% is standard and 5% for the merit goods. But yeah, if you talk about the demerit goods, sin goods, cigarettes, alcohol, all these things, so 40%. Okay. And then additional cess is also there, surcharge. Expected channels of impact. Now, these reforms that have been taken under GST, they are going to impact what? It is going to boost the consumption. Obviously, if you are going to pay lesser tax, more income would be spendable income left with you will be more. Yes or no? So, if more income is left with you, you will spend more. So, there would be boost in the consumption. Manufacturing and trade. Boost manufacturing, enhance trade competitiveness, encourage small business to formalize. And if firms will save more, they will do the capital expenditure, thereby boosting the manufacturing, giving the opportunities of job to others. Structural reforms, resolve inverted duty structure, improve working capital. By these reforms, by the GST reforms, the structural changes are also going to occur. Now, center's effective capex to GDP is scaled up from pre-pandemic average of 2.7 to 4% in financial year 2025. Capex, capital expenditure, as a percentage of GDP. In financial year 2020, our capex was 2% capital expenditure of GDP. Now, in 2025, it is 4% of GDP, and it will be 4.3% of GDP in 2026. And in terms of figure, it would be somewhere around 15.8 lakh crores to 16 lakh crores. Got my point? Okay. Now, Center also launched several schemes and several policies were made by the Center to incorporate states as well in its regime, so that states can also increase their capital expenditure. And this is being observed that from 2.3% of 19, it has now reached 2.4% for the state. Okay, their contribution in capex is increasing. Third chapter is monetary management and financial intermediation, refining the regulatory touch. So here in monetary management, it is actually going to talk about the RBI, the monetary policies and everything. Just a minute. So effective transmission of monetary policy to the money and credit market. RBI makes the monetary policy, but how effectively those policies get transferred to the different markets and different sectors of the economy, that's what makes the difference. So if you look here, if we talk about the repo rate, this red color line is repo rate. Okay, this SDF facilities is this blue color dotted line. Okay, and this green color is about MSF, marginal standing facility. Okay, and here we have the percentage along y-axis, and along x-axis we have the date. So starting from the 1st of June of 2025, you can see the percentage, and you can see till June 2026. Okay, then it is talking about monetary developments which reflects easing financial conditions. Monetary developments are for what? The financial conditions should improve. Okay, CRR, yellow color is the CRR, okay, and this pink color is your M3 money supply, right? Now you see it is 9.4%, it is 12.1% till December of 2025. Fine. Now bank credits to MSEs, okay, micro and small scale enterprises, continues its upward trend. Bank credit to micro and small enterprises is being represented by blue. You can see it is upward sloping from 2020, June 2020 to June 2025. If we talk in terms of lakh crore, now it has reached 27 lakh crore. The credit of 27 lakh crore is being given to the MSMEs, so you can say micro and small industries, which was somewhere around 9.5 lakh crores in June of 2020. Okay. Now, SCB's asset quality improves, GNPA and NNPA a multi-decade lows. GNPA percentage gross advances, this is green colored line you can see, and NNPA of gross advances, it is this yellow color line you can see. So it is a good thing, it is declining at a, you can see the trend, it was maximum in this March 18, but now it is declining, it is in a downward trend. Okay, and what is this NNPA? NNPA means net NPA. NPA, non-performing asset. So total net non-performing asset, people who take the loan and they do not return, it becomes NPA for a bank. So see, NPA, which was 11.2% in 2018, now it has declined. As I told you, it is a good thing. Now it is only 2.2%. Okay, gross NPA. And net NPA has reached, even why are we saying net NPA? So it's not like that if a person is going to take a loan and he is going to run away with it. For some time, he is going to pay interest, he or she is going to pay EMI, then bank is also going to take several steps. Bank might have mortgage something, so bank will sell it to recover the loan. So net means how much amount bank was able to recover. In gross, you do not subtract. In gross, what you do is just whatever amount was given by bank, you just consider it as gross NPA. But in net NPA, which is actually a pragmatic approach, you subtract that how much amount bank actually recovered. So if you see the net NPA, it is now 0.5% only, which was 6% in the year 2018. Okay, so it's a paradigm shift. So that means Indian banks are now in a very good condition, and very good condition for bank means it will support the market. They can easily provide the credit, right? Because we saw banks, and we saw it here, banks are giving more and more credit to the MSMEs. Their NPAs are decreasing as well, and we also saw that the policies that are being applied by the bank, they are reaching the commoners. Okay. Expanding pension coverage. See, guys, majorly two pension schemes are there in India, government based. This is Atal Pension Yojana and this is NPS. If we talk about Atal Pension Yojana, so in back in 2016-17 when it was launched, there were only 24.6 lakh subscribers of it. That means only 24.6 lakh people availed to Atal Pension Yojana. But if you look at it as of now, it is 641.3 lakh subscribers of Atal Pension Yojana. Okay, and in 2016, the amount was 0.51 thousand crores. Now, this amount of the pension is now 44.8 thousand crores. Okay, so a wonderful increase is here. In NPS also, you will observe 97.5 lakh subscribers in 2016, but in 25, it is 198.6 lakh subscribers. And obviously, the total fund has also increased from 118.3 thousand crores to 1398.7 thousand crores. Okay. Now, guys, insurance, which is again very important aspect and important aspect for financial inclusion, right? If we talk about the insurance, so the total amount of life and non-life insurance, you all know, non-life like medical insurance, car insurance, all these things. Okay, non-life premium is rising. So if I talk about life total premium, if you look at financial year 21, so it is 6.3 lakh crores. Okay, and non-life was 2 lakh crores in the financial year 21. But here it has reached, life total premium has reached 8.9 lakh crore and non-life has reached 3.1 lakh crore. So increases here also. Okay, 77.4 lakh crore of rupees AUM in the financial year 25. Total premium income, I told you, rose from 8.3 lakh to 11.9. Life insurance paid benefits totaling 6.3 lakh crores. Net incurred claims in non-life sector stood from 1.9 lakh crore in financial year 25. Expanding reach. So the figures are expanding, the percentage is expanding. What is the meaning of it? More and more people are getting or are subscribing to the insurance, and guys, that is very much essential as well. Okay, it increases the financial inclusion in the country. Then development in the capital market. There are two types of market, if you are aware: money market and capital market. Money market, short term market. Capital market is the long term market. Okay, so in the financial year 2026, if we talk from April, here the data which is being presented is for April to November 2025, right? We see total rise in total resource mobilization, whether it is equity and debt combined. Equity and debt combined. from primary markets. Okay. So in financial year 23, it stood at 75,000 crores. Okay. In financial year 25, it is 218,000 crores. So phenomenal rise. And guys, not only there is the rise in the resource mobilization. Resource mobilization in primary market means what? More and more people are investing there. That's why the amount there is increasing. 75,000 crore was invested in 23. Now it is 218,000 crore if we talk about equity and debt. Okay. And due to this, due to awareness, what is happening? Now you look at any IPO, even the Khachra type of a company who launches the IPO, it gets oversubscribed. Oversubscribed. And why? Because again, more and more people are taking interest in the capital markets. See, number of IPOs which were launched in 23 were 164. Now it has nearly doubled, 320 crores in financial year 2025. And in from April to November in this year, 2026, from April to November, it is expected 260 more IPOs will be launched. That's just half year. So it will be much more than 320. Okay. And why so many IPOs are being launched? It shows that in your country, the startups are progressing. Right. That's why more and more IPOs are being launched. People are starting their own things, their own businesses, and those businesses are getting successful as well. That is why they are launching IPOs. Right. And the number is increasing. That's good for India. Regulatory development. If we talk about banking sector, so RBI's framework for formulation of regulation standardizes the regulatory process, stipulating periodic reviews and consultation. RBI has considered over 9,000 existing circulars and guidelines. Public sector banks introduced a credit assessment model to see. Now the banking sectors, RBI, it controls the banking sector, and RBI is making the things more and more standardized so that the things can be more formal. Okay. And public sector banks introduced a credit assessment model. A model was launched by the government banks to ease for the ease of doing business in MSMEs. Okay. Why? Because if there is a easy model of credit, so banks would be able to provide loans to these MSMEs without much of the cumbersome work, without much of the running here and there. Then RBI's free AI structured approach for financial regulators and institutions to leverage AI while managing its risks. Okay. In capital market, the Securities Market Code, the bill that was launched in 2025, repeals and replaces the SCRA of 1956, SEBI Act of 1992, and Depositories Act of 1996, consolidating India's security market laws into a single framework. Initially, these three frameworks or laws were there, all have been consolidated, and a single law or single source for maintaining these laws is Securities Market Code. SEBI launched investor protection tools, SEBI Check, SEBI versus Scam. So these tools are being launched by SEBI so that you can prevent the investors from fraudulent acts. Okay. Then insurance sector, the Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha Amendment of Insurance Laws Act 2025 was notified on 21st December 2025. Important provisions include higher FDI limits, simplified insurer regulations, strengthened policyholder protection, and aligning insurance governance with India's digital data protection framework. Okay. So these were few schemes in the regulatory things launched by the government and the government agencies. Now progress in the microcredit. See guys, microcredit is what? And this is a detailed structure actually launched by the government of India few years back. Under microfinance scheme, government has, in accordance to Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Nidhi, government provides several types of loans to the people who want to start small businesses, who want to start small shops, ranging from 1 to 50,000 rupees, right? And there are several names given to it, like Shishu, Tarun, huh? Based on the quantity, then from 50,000 to 2 lakh, and government provides loan up to 20 lakh rupees under this scheme of microfinance to one individual. So a decade of funding it has been 10 years of funding the unfunded through Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. And how much amount has been disbursed? Disbursed over 36.18 lakh crore across 55.45 crore loan accounts. These many loan accounts were given 36.18 lakh crore rupees in total till October 2025. Women entrepreneurs accessed 69% of all microloans. And the best part of it is that 69% of these loans were given to the women businesses, women entrepreneurs. 15.6 lakh crore disbursed across 33.4 crore accounts of SC, ST, and OBC and other minorities. So the segment of the society which is lagging behind reserved segment, 15.6 lakh crore were given to them. Okay. Then PM Swanidhi empowering India's street vendor. So the street vendor, as I told you, small shops, small businesses were being given loan by the government. So improved quality of life. The average annualized business income among Swanidhi borrowers increased by 20% between 2023 and 2025 because they took the loan, they expanded their business. So that is why their income also increased. Improved incomes have led to housing upgrades. Now, when the income will increase, what will an individual do? He will build a house, will upgrade, have led to housing upgrades for 39% of the households, better food access to 55%, more affordable health care for 44%, and enhanced educational opportunities for 50% of these. Empowered minorities, 33%, the beneficiaries are women. 64% consist of OBC, SC, ST under street vendor scheme. Fine. Healthy credit metrics showed strong repayment performance, and it's not like that people took the loan and they ran away. No, without collateral, these loans were given, but still people are repaying the loan, showed a strong repayment performance with the estimated NPA rate below 10%. NPA is below 10%, and guys, this is non-collateral loan, non-collateralized loan. So here NPA should be very high. People can take the money and can run away, but still less than 10%, single digit. Okay. Fourth chapter is external sector. As I told you, this survey is focusing a lot on the external sector and it is playing the long game. Okay. So global trade dynamics. Now here is a chart which is telling you about the rising trade policy activity. Okay. And if you will observe that in the year 2025, there is a sharp increase in the trade policy activity, right? So it is saying that trade policy activity index increase was driven mainly by the sharper rise in the restrictive trade measure. This pink color line is talking about the restrictive measures. So now we are observing, and green color line is about trade facilitation. Trade facilitation, so that trade can occur without any hindrance. There is a drop in it. Trade facilitation is downward sloping, it is decreasing. Pink color line, which is trade restriction, it is increasing. Okay, and black color line is about trade activities. So since restriction is increasing, facilitation is decreasing, that is why it is also on a dip. Trade activities are on a drip. Okay. Now trends in trade growth, goods and services. Now here we have along y-axis growth in trade volume, okay, and along x-axis we have the year. Okay. Now this pink color line that you are observing, it is about the exports. Okay. So you can see our exports in 2024 were 1.8%. Our export in 2025, despite of the decrease in the global trade and increase in the restriction, international restriction, our exports have increased to 2.1. Okay. And in 2026, till January, February, March, it will be 1.7%, and that is really good. Getting my point? Now, if we talk about the imports, so imports are being represented by pink color dotted line. Yeah. So see guys, our imports have also increased in comparison to 2024, which was 2.1%. Now it is 3.1%. Until now in 2026, it is 1.3%, but that is again on the higher side because only for 3%, 3 months, it is 1.3%. Okay. Now, if we talk about electronic machines and devices, if we talk about the export of it, so the electronic machines and devices export from 2020, and this purple color line is about the export. Okay, purple. Whiskey. No, that is EMD is this dotted line. अभी मैं इसकी बात कर रहा हूँ. So you will observe that our export is decreasing from 6.5%, which was in the year 2024. It is 5.9% in the year 2025. So there is a decrease in the export of it, and 3.3% till date from January, February, and March. So only for 3 months it is okay. And but you will see one thing here, that if you compare these purple color lines with the AEs, which were the advanced economies. So in advanced economies, it was 1.7% in 2026 and 2.1% in the year 2025. But here it is 5.9%, which is much higher than the advanced economies. Okay. Similarly, if you look at the import, so import for the advanced economies was 3.1%, but yes, import here is more in comparison to advanced economies. But again, you have to observe that in advanced economies, AEs, this pink color, the imports have increased from 2.1 to 3.1, but here import has decreased from 5.6 to 4.3%. And here the trend is downward. There the trend is upward. So that's the difference. Our imports are decreasing, our exports are increasing. Okay. Whereas the imports of advanced economies are increasing and their exports are in the downtrend. So this is good that we are progressing in the positive direction. Okay. Next is India's trade performance. So this we talked about in terms of advanced economies and the developing economies. But now if we particularly talk about India, so in the year 2026, from April to December 2025, merchandise trade remains resilient and global trade uncertainty. Now, merchandise trade. What is merchandise trade? It is the trade of goods. Okay, not of services. It is the trade of goods. Here we have from April to December 2024. Here April to December 2025. And this dot that you are observing, this purple colored dot, it is merchandise export, and this pink color dot is merchandise import. Merchandise export in US $1 billion, Okay, it is in US billion dollars, both export as well as import. So obviously, in case of merchandise, it was 224. We had the deficit, the trade deficit of minus 224 USD billion in the year 2024. Now it has increased. Our trade deficit in merchandise is now 248.3. Okay. So yeah, in merchandise, India imports a lot more than it exports, so it is increasing. Okay. Now, if we compare, now see, this was the total merchandise, but we have to understand one thing, that we mostly import petroleum. Huh? We import petroleum, gems, all these things. So now, if we talk about non-petroleum, non-gems and non-jewelry export, and non-petroleum, non-gems and non-jewelry imports, then what is the scenario? If you will observe this, because you see, petrol is something that we are heavily dependent on. So we have to majorly import it. Without petrol, what is the scenario? There are certain metals, jewelry metals, we import that as well. But these are not the things which will lead to the growth of the country. If you remove them, then what is the scenario? So you will observe in the April to December 24, it was 251.7 USD billion dollars. Okay. Green color is for non-petroleum, non-gems and jewelry exports. Okay. And red color is non-petroleum, non-gems and jewelry import. And import was 339.7, obviously more. In year 2025, our export is 266.9. That means this is in billion dollars. That means export has increased. There is a growth of 6% in export. Okay. But at the same time, our imports have also increased, and the import growth rate is of 9.5%. And that is bad. Okay. Anyway, service trade, but you all know in services, India performs exceptionally well. We are in the surplus in case of services. Services trade continues to be a key driver of India's trade performance. Compounded annual growth rates. This brown color is total exports, blue color is merchandise export, and this green color is service export. Okay. Here, the percentage is there, percentage of GDP. Now, see, from financial year 2025, this is representing from 2020 to 2025. This is from 10 to 20. Okay, this is from financial year 2000 to 25. This is from financial year 2010 to 25. Wherever you look, you will observe that our service sector, apart from this 10 to 25 and 10 to 20, but still here also the service sector is leading the merchandise export sector. Our service export is way higher than that. Okay, and India exports a lot of services. Now, if we talk in terms of USD billion dollars and we compare the years, so green color is service import, blue color line is the service export, and yellow color is telling you service trade surplus. Okay, so we are obviously in the surplus in case of services. We were 285.5 US billion dollars in 2024. Now we are 304 US billion dollars. That is 6.5% growth in our trade surplus. From 150, that is from April to December 2024, if we talk about the imports, so 1.5% our imports of services has increased from 2024 to 2025, and overall surplus has increased by 6.5%. So that is again a positive sign. So India's strategic push to expand trade partnership. Now, what all India is doing to consolidate its international trade, To consolidate international trade, there are several agreements that India has entered and several other agreements for which negotiations are being carried on. So you can see India Mauritius CECPA in 2021. Okay, that is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. FTA is Free Trade Agreement. So we entered into CECPA with Mauritius in 2021. Then India UAE CPA was in 2022. Then India Australia ECTA was done in 2022. India and entered into the agreement with EFTA, India UK CETA. Okay, India Oman CPA in 2025. Both these India UK and India Oman was done in 2025. Then India New Zealand FTA was also signed in 2025. And now you know, mother of all trade deals, India and European Union FTA free trade agreement has been signed. Now free trade agreements that are presently under negotiations: India, Australia. Just a minute, guys. Please wait for 2 minutes. There's a lot of commotion. Sorry guys, there was a bit of commotion, so that's why I stopped. So these are the agreements that India has already entered into. Okay. Now, free trade agreements that are being under negotiation. That means negotiations are going on and results will be positive and it will come soon. India, Australia, CECA, India, Sri Lanka, ETCA, India, Peru, FTA, India, Chile, CPA, India, USA, bilateral trade agreement, India, USA trade agreement. And you know, Donald Trump and his administration, when Trump came into office 1 year back, Trump himself announced that we think that the first trade agreement that we are going to do is going to be with India, right? But it's been more than a year. America has entered into trade agreements with several countries, but not with India till now. And according to the recent developments and the tapes that came, it became clear that it is not India which is hesitating from entering into the trade agreement. Rather, it is the Trump administration and Trump himself who are actually creating the hurdles on the way of this agreement. But what we hope is that after this European trade agreement, mother of all trade deal, US would be under some sort of pressure to crack a trade deal with India. Let's see. Then India Eurasian Economic Union FTA, India Korea, South Korea. CEPA, Asian countries and India's ATIGA. Okay. Now, comfortable current account deficit, CAD, current account deficit. What is current account deficit, guys? Three things come in current account: goods, services, unilateral transfers. Okay. When the imports are more than, when the payments are more than the receipts, then we enter into the current account deficit. Okay. Green color is net merchandise. Blue is net services. Net, you know, earning minus expenditure. But since here we have deficit, so expenditure minus earning. Net transfers, net income. Okay. Now see, net income. Talking in financial year 2015, the figures are in USD billion, that is $1 billion. Somewhere $150 billion of deficit, current account deficit in financial year 15. This deficit was nearly 130-40 in 16. It reduced to 120 in 17. Then in financial year, it increased and crossed $200 billion. In 19, it further increased. In 2020, the deficit reduced to 200 billion. In 21, it further reduced, reaching the range of 150. In 2022, it further increased more than 200 billion. In 23, it was minus 300 billion. In 24, it reduced. In 2025, it is minus 287. Okay, that means we have deteriorated in terms of net income. Our net income is negative. Our imports are more. But obviously, if you look at the service sector, exports are more and we are in positive here. Okay, this is zero. Below it is negative. Below it is positive. So our earnings in the export of service is 189 crores. Okay. And net transfer, that is remittances. See guys, services and remittances, these are the two things which keeps Indian economy's current account deficit in check. Our BOP is supported by these two positives. Okay. Our merchandise import is very high. That is why our overall we experience current account deficit. But 123 crores, 123 billion USD we got in remittances and transfers in the year 2025, which is higher than 2024 and higher than 2023 or 22 or whatever. So the highest transfers in this year, okay, and highest services earning in this year, comparing to it the previous years. In 2026, the first half year, if we talk of that first 6 months, the expectation is 67 billion from the transfers, 99 from the services. Okay, and this will be negative minus 156, merchandise, net loss minus 20. Moving on, India leads the world in greenfield digital investment between 2020 and 2024. See, guys, what are greenfield digital investment? Greenfield investment are the new areas of investment in the digital areas, in the technological areas. If you talk about data centers, if you talk about the AI, if you talk about all these new fields of digital arena, that's what we are talking of. So if you compare all the countries in terms of project announcement in digital economy, Brazil has done 23, China, Mexico, all of this. India has announced, India is ranked one among all these countries. 114 projects have been announced till now. Getting my point? Turning global reorientation into sustainable foreign direct investment. Okay. Now see, guys, you please wait for 1 or 2 minutes. There is again commotion. Okay. So this blue color that you are observing, this one, it is about gross inflows. This yellow color, yellow shadage, it is repatriation, and this sky blue sort of color, this is net fix done by India. Okay, starting from the year 2024. This is 2025. Yeah, 2024, 2025. Okay, so gross inflow in India was, you can see, $70 billion, 70 billion USD. Okay, repatriation in India in 2024 was 45 billion, and net fix was 15 billion, in the range of this. But again, all of this increased. Our inflows have increased to more than 80 billion. Repatriation, has increased from 45 to 50 billion, and net is again up by 20. It was 15, now it is 25 billion. Okay, total in terms of figures, it is 50.55.8 in 2025, and in 2026 we are expecting our net inflows to be 64.7 billion USD. Okay, what inflow I am talking about? The inflow of foreign direct investment. Okay, this is FDI. We are expecting it to be 64.7 billion. But again, the survey says that yes, it is going to increase, and it has increased in comparison to previous year, that is 2024. But still, there are certain steps that India has to take so that India can further increase its FDI, just like India has to look into the we have to look into the global FIM restructure. Then we have to talk about the structural strengths that India has. We have to work on the growth aspects, and we have to work on the service sector. Then we have to give momentum to our strategic sector. We have to invest in the AI sector, and we have to look forward for those fields which are emerging and that are creating new global economic order. So if we invest in these things, if we strategically work in them, if we give the structure to this, if we work on the labor laws and all, so the FDI can further be increased. That's what the survey tells us. Now, if we talk about strong external buffers, anchor stability, we are comparing from financial year 15 to 25. So guys, Forex in financial year 15 was 341 billion US dollar. It has now reached 700 as of January 2026, 701.4 billion USD dollar. That is upward increase. Okay. If we talk about external debt to GDP ratio, in the year 15, it was 23.8%. Our debt was 23.8% external debt GDP ratio. It is now 19.2% of our GDP. That's a decline. But these figures are not telling the full story. The thing is, in comparison to advanced economies, our external debt to GDP ratio is very less. Whether it is US, UK, any advanced economy you talk of, their external debt is very high. If we talk about the cover of import, what is the meaning of cover of import? That means, let's say today, all the foreign exchange coming to our country stops, ceases. Then for how many months we will be able to sustain ourselves? Okay, without doing any import, because we do not have, let's say we have zero forex. Then for how many months we can survive? Or for how many days we can survive? So the figure was 8.9 months in financial year 2015. Now it is 11.1 months till 9th of Jan 2026. Due to increase in our forex, we can live without imports for 11 months. Okay. And current account deficit, which was 1.32% in financial year 15, it is now 0.8% in the first half of the financial year 26. Okay, so India enters 2020. India enters 2026 with strong buffers under external shocks. Under such conditions of the world as are today, India is doing strong, it is resilient, it is persuasive, and we are entering strongly into 2026. Now, if we talk about inflation, it's saying tamed and anchored. We have, the name itself suggests, we have controlled the inflation in our country, and we are using it, directing it with our policy effectively. India recorded the lowest inflation rate since the beginning of the CPI series. CPI means Consumer Price Index. With April to December 25 average headline inflation coming in at 1.7%. Okay, 1.7%. This was driven by subdued food inflation. What is headline inflation? Headline inflation is actually total. Total inflation is called headline inflation. What is core inflation? If you remove the food and oil inflation from the total or headline inflation, then you get the core inflation. Okay. And food inflation, you all know the inflation in food. So headline inflation is represented by this orange color. Core inflation, that means headline inflation minus oil and food inflation, is represented by blue color. And food inflation is by green color. So you can see in comparison to April 24, where it was more than, it was 9% something, the food inflation, right? The green color. Now, the food inflation is negative, -3, -4%. That means the prices of food are decreasing, okay? If we look at the headline inflation, which was somewhere around 4.5 in April of 2024, now this headline inflation by the December 2025, it is 1.3%, okay? But yes, there is rise in the core inflation from 3.8, it has reached 4.62%, and food inflation is negative -2.71%. Why? And you can very well understand why core inflation is more, because you see in core inflation, you remove the food inflation from it, and our food inflation has gone negative. That is why headline inflation is so low. But if you remove it, so core inflation is still 4.6. Okay. India has seen the highest reduction, 1.8% in headline inflation among major economies in 2025. So if you compare it with the major economies, this green color is showing decrease in the inflation. This mark is 0. This is a 0 mark. If you move left of 0 mark, inflation is decreasing. On the right of this mark, inflation is increasing. So, countries like China, US, Malaysia, Germany, Indonesia, Mexico, South Africa, France, Philippines, India, they all have shown reduction in the inflation. But out of all these, reduction in inflation in India is maximum. Japan, Brazil, and United Kingdom, they have actually shown increase in inflation. Okay. Now, decline in food inflation was driven by persistent contraction in prices of major commodities like vegetables and pulses. So, why we observe negative inflation in food? Because the prices of vegetables and pulses, they shrank. Okay. And you can see blue color is vegetable, 18.5% decline in the prices of vegetables, okay, and 15.2% decline in the prices of pulses. Okay, timely intervention helped in reducing the volatility in the prices of pulses over the years, and this has not happened out of blue. The consistent and persistent efforts have been made from many years, which have led to this decline in the prices of pulses and reduction in the volatility of the prices. What do we mean by volatility of the prices of pulses? That the pulses prices were unstable. They used to fluctuate a lot, and you can see there. All these are fluctuations starting from 2015, 30th Jan. Look at the fluctuation, right? Till 17. Then it got sort of stable till 19. But then this COVID phase from 19 to 21, again there were fluctuations. But blissfully, now we have again reached, it's just like a straight line sort of a thing. Again, we are reaching the state of stability in the prices of the pulses. Okay. Steady pace of core inflation has been largely influenced by higher inflation in the prices of precious metals like gold and silver. And guys, this increase in the core inflation that we observed, green color is showing gases, okay, and this dotted line is showing core inflation. So you see, if we talk about the major imports that we do or the major things like gases and all, goods and services, then you observe, pay attention. If we talk about gases, if we talk about the petrol, diesel, if we talk about food, all the goods you include, all the services you include, just exclude precious metals from them, jewelry from them, that is gold and silver, then the core inflation should be 2.27. But we all know there is such a surge in the prices of gold and silver, due to which the core inflation is 4.62%, and India majorly imports these metals, if you are aware, right? Anyway. Now, a strong base effect played a critical role in tempering headline inflation, especially in especially in second half of 2025. There are certain effects. What is base effect? Base effect means, guys, that if let's say in the previous year the prices were very high, so in this year, even if the prices are declining, they will not decline at higher rates. It will take some time for the prices to decline. Okay. Or let's say prices were very low in the base year, in the previous year. So in this year, the prices are not going to climb up, plunge up suddenly. No, it would take some time. That is called base effect. The field from which you are starting. Okay, so to come out of it, it takes or requires certain amount of time. So blue color is the base effect. Momentum effect. Momentum effect depends on the conditions that are prevalent at that point of time, the scale at which your economy is growing, the momentum of that. Okay. And according to momentum and base effect, what is year-wise change in the inflation? So you see, 24 momentum effect was somewhere around 1.5, and this was base effect was somewhere around 0.5 and so on. But once you come enter into 2025, you see base effect is increasing at a much higher rate. Okay, and due to this also there is the effect on the inflation, as you can see. Next is agriculture and food management, raising productivity, securing incomes, and ensuring food security. Raising, okay. Now, diversifying agriculture, livestock, and fisheries lead the way. Now, see, if we talk about agriculture, so the livestock means the farming of animals, right? Any sort of animal, fisheries, it can be, cattle, it can be, all these come under livestock. So 7.2% is the growth rate. 7.2% in fishing and aquaculture. In livestock of cattle, 6.1%. The crop growth is 4%. Agricultural growth sector is 4.7% of growth rate is being exhibited. Now, how has this happened? How has this growth occurred? There are certain support mechanisms that are being launched by government: National Food Security Nutrition Mission, National Mission on Edible Oil, National Mission on Edible Oil Palm, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, promotion of FPO and cooperatives, insurance support, PM Fasal Bima Yojana. Krishnomati Yojana, Digital Agricultural Mission. Then for input support, government launched many schemes like providing access to high-yielding seeds because high-yielding seeds are expensive. Assured irrigation through Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, soil health card, fertilizer subsidy, Kisan credit card, etc. Then for income support of the farmers, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, where I told you also that a sum is being given to the farmers on every 3 months. Okay. Then minimum support prices, PM Man Dhan Yojana. Okay. Then we talk about services from stability to new frontiers. So resilient and steady India's services GVA growth outperforms global trends. Okay. Okay. Now see, this pink color line is pre-COVID, that is from 2015 to 2019 growth rate. Okay. This blue color is after 2020. Sorry, blue and green color is after 2024. Okay. And yellow color is representing the deviation. How much deviation has occurred between these two periods, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pink is pre, green is post. If I talk about China, pre-COVID, 8% growth. After COVID, 5%. The GVA of China is growing at the rate of 5% now. The deviation is of 3%. Similarly, for US, 1.3% negative. Deviation is negative, minus 1.3%. For the entire world, the deviation is minus 0.8%. European Union, minus 0.7. UK, minus 0.7. But if you look at India, pre-COVID, the GVA growth was 7.6. Post-COVID, GVA growth is 7.2. And that is very high in comparison to all these economies, whether it is Europe, UK, US, even in comparison to China. Now China is growing at 5%, GVA is 5. We are at 7.2. So our only deviation is of minus 0.4%. Okay. Services sector continues to be the major driver of the growth. See, this blue is representing transport, trade, services. Okay. This green color is representing financial. Okay. This, I don't know which color. Let me call it yellow. Here, yellow color is representing administration and other services. So all these are representing different sort of services. Okay, transport services, financial services, technological services, and public administration services. All these things are there. And here, the percentages per capita of the GDP. So in comparison to previous years, pre-COVID, 16.7, 22 and 12.6, right? That is 51.3. Okay. Then in 2024, it became 52. In 2025, first half, it was 52.6. And in the second half, it is 53.6. So what you observe, the upward trend in these services, the growth of services is continuously increasing. Services PMI expands higher than the long run average in Q3 third quarter of financial year 2026. So you see, if the PMI, it is an index. Okay, if the PMI index is greater than 50, it is considered to be a good sign, a good thing. So in the third quarter, you see our PMI is 58.9 in case of services. That means our services are growing at exceptionally good rate. Now, services sector is lifeline of the urban sector, of the urban population. Most of the urban population is employed in the service sector. Okay. If we talk about total economy, then 30% of total employment is in the services sector. 61.9% of this 30% comes from the urban areas. And this is the lifeblood for it. Okay. Now, tourism sector, domestic resilience with emerging high value segments. If we talk about tourism sector, that means there are several places here in India where tourists visit. There are places where foreign tourists visit. So, what is India doing in that sector? So, it is saying that here also we are showing consistent growth, like 17.5% growth in domestic tourist visits in 2024. So, if we talk about the domestic indigenous people visiting different sites of the country, the tourist for tourism purpose, there was the increase of 17.5%. Okay. 8.9% growth in international tourist arrival, and not only domestic. International tourism also increased by 8.9%. More than 60% average hotel occupancy rate. In an year, in 2024, the occupancy rate of hotels, different hotels on average was more than 60%. So that itself shows that tourism is increasing. Okay. Similarly, in the segment of media and entertainment, or in case of digital media, or in case of gamings, okay, all these sectors are generating income and are showing growth. Even in the case of real estate and housing services, there is a sustained upcycle. There is growth, as you can see. Quarterly average housing sale. How many thousands of houses are being sold in every quarter? So in financial year from 2022 to 2024, it was 81.6. Now it is from 2025 to 2026 second quarter, it is 101.3 thousand. That is increase here as well. IT sector, global technology and innovation hub, steady expansion of global capability center. If I talk about global capability center, so obviously I'm talking about the data centers, I'm talking about the IT hubs, right? So GCCs, Global Capability Center, they were 1430 in the financial year 19. Now in the financial year 24, it is 1700, 1.2 times it has increased. India's technology startup ecosystem is third largest in the world. If we talk about generative AI startups, generative AI, this thing started in India from 2023, and in the first half it was 66, in 2024 240, and now it is 890. Getting my point? So generative AI startups, they have increased from 66 to 890 just in the span of 2 years, and that is exponential growth. Next is industries. Next leap is structural transformation and global integration, industry performance, growth, resilience, and transformation. So here, optimism about prospect continues to remain high. What are we talking about here? We are talking about that how optimistic, how positive people are. Because you see, guys, the markets, they run on the sentiments, right? You might have observed that a particular market stock declined or burst or surged. Why? It is governed by sentiments. So this 100, above 100 shows optimism, below 100 shows pessimism. You can see from 2022 September to 2025, there is optimism in the people in India. related to India, about the prospects of growth. People are optimistic. That's the market sentiment. Medium and high technology activities now account for 46.3% of India's total manufacturing value added. So, India is now not only manufacturing the basic labor oriented products, but we are now manufacturing the technological products, the mobiles, the laptops, all these things, the gadgets, electronic items, all these things are also being manufactured by us, and it is now 46.3% of our total manufacturing. Okay, and you can see the upward trend here from 21 to 25, and it is in USD billions, somewhere around 15 US billion dollars. Now, sustained momentum in real manufacturing, GVA. So we have maintained the momentum in all the quarters, and we are going to rise even from the first quarter of 2025 to the second quarter of 26. You can see the growth rate of our GVA in the industry, in the manufacturing, was from 7.59. We are going to reach 9.13. And if we talk about real industry, gross value added. So in our industries, the GVA in percentage in financial year 25, it was 5.89%. Now it is 7%. And here we are including all these sectors like manufacturing, electricity, water supply, utility, construction, mining, quarrying, everything is included. If we talk, and now it has been segregated depending on the product. For you can look for cement. Okay, see, in cement also you can see the increase. Then finished steel. This is because this is for 26, 26, so just for 3 months. Upward trend. Coal, rising domestic production and lower imports. Our imports are decreasing and production are increasing in coals. Growing export, and you know, India is called as the largest manufacturers of pharmaceutical in the world, and this continues to grow. Our export is increasing. Okay. Production, sales, and exports of automobiles. Blue color is about total production. Yellow color is total export, and green color is domestic sales, total domestic sales. Okay. So you can see in this graph that our total production has increased. Okay, from here till here. You will observe that our export, which declined in the year 21 after 20, from 20 declined. This was the corona phase. Okay, then it recovered in the year 2022. We again observe a dip in it, but again it is recovering. It is on the positive note. That's a good thing. And what you will observe that we are total domestic sale. It is not that we are just manufacturing. We are exporting that economy. We are manufacturing and exporting it. No, domestic sales, if you see, it is also increasing in green color. It is also increasing quantities. EV, electronic vehicles, the registration of EV. If you talk about, these are units, number of units. So in 2020, you look at it, and you look at it in 2025. Total 62.5% of CAGR we observed. So more and more people are switching to the electrical vehicles. Okay. Growth of electronics production and the exports. The production, import. Blue is production, green is import, yellow is export. See, export in comparison to 2022, it was 1.2. Now it is 3.3 increased. If you look at the production, 6.4 in 2022, now it is 11.3. Production has increased, and import has also increased in comparison to 7.3 of 2024 or 5.5 of 2022. It is 8.4 in 2025. Nearly 30-fold increase in mobile, as I just told you in two graphs earlier, that we are manufacturing 46% of the technological products as well. So 30-fold, 30 times our mobile manufacturing has increased from, and it is in lakh crore from point, and here also it was in lakh crore anyway. In financial year 15, it was 0.18 lakh crore. Okay, this is mobile manufacturing production value. Now it is 5.45 lakh crores of the production value. Getting my point, guys? Next is investment and infrastructure, that is strengthening connectivity, capacity, and competitiveness. Effective capex has increased steadily since financial year 2015. As I told you, the figures is in lakh crores. In 2015, it was 3.7 lakh crore, yellow color, grants for creation of capital assets, and green color is union government's capex, and this red color line is effective capex. Okay, so I'm telling you the figures of effective capex. In 16, 3.85 lakh crores, and you see in 2025 it is 13.30 lakh crore in the financial year 2026, and this we will observe tomorrow as well, that government, and we are very hopeful and optimistic that government is going to increase the capex. It is now 15.48 lakh crores. Okay, an increase in capex is a good sign for the economy. It means growth. Now, increase in project approvals. By now, see the new thing that we're observing, that more and more public-private partnership is popping up, and it is spreading, and it is increasing and propagating. So that's what we see here. If we talk about the total cost of the projects under this domain in lakh crores, so in 2023 it was 8890 lakh crores, and now till November of financial year 2026 it will be 1 lakh 4,686 lakh crores. Okay, number of projects, 6 projects under public-private partnership appraisal committee as of 2023. Now the number has risen up to 28 in 2026 November. Okay. Now, progress in physical connectivity. So, physical connectivity is all about roads and highways. Total national highway network, 60% increase we observe. In the financial year 2014, it was in kilometers, the figure is given 91,287 kilometers. Okay, total national highway network was. Now it is 1,46,572 kilometers. Operational high speed corridors in kilometers in 2014 it was 550. In 2026 it is 5,364 till December of 2026. Average commissioning of railway network, if we talk about railway network which get commissioned or approved by the government per year. So from 2004 to 2014, in terms of kilometers, 1,499 kilometers of railway connectivity was commissioned by the government. Now it is 3,118 kilometers, more than half, more than double. Then if we talk about port infrastructure, so here also we observe the increase, then reduction in the average container vessel turnaround time. What is this average container vessel turnaround time? See guys, if you're transporting the goods from one place to another, then how will you do it? You will purchase, your goods will be transferred in big containers if you're transferring it to some other country. So there would be containers and your goods will be shipped from one country to another. So turnaround time for container means that how much time it takes for your good to reach from your factory to the doorstep of the consumer. That is the turnaround time. So this turnaround time should be less. If it is less, it is going to increase the trust of the consumers on the producers, on the suppliers. So we see that this time has been reduced substantially. And if we talk about cargo movements through inland water transport, so it has risen from 18 as per 2013-14 to 146. Now, power sector. So capacity addition in power sector, generating capacity addition in megawatts, 40,938. Okay, transfer. And green color is for financial year 26 from April to November. Blue color is April to November financial year 25. Okay, and it was 15,000 in the 25. That means in 26 it is going to become 2.5 times. Now transformation capacity in MVA, it is nearly going to be 1.5 or 1.7 times in comparison to 2025. Improvement in daily average power supply in rural areas. If we talk in terms of hours, blue color is 2014, green color is 25. So in 2014, in rural areas, in a day, 12.6 hours in a day, the rural people used to get electricity. Now the survey says that 22.6 hours in rural sector, the people get electricity or power supplies there. In urban sector, it was 22.1 hours in financial year 14. Now it is 23.4 hours, and it is from the sources Ministry of Power. Power distribution turnaround, profit after tax. In 2014, pay attention, in power sector, there was the loss of 67,962 crores. Now there is profit of in 2025 22,701 crore. Okay. Okay, guys. Now wait for 2-3 minutes. Let me drink water. Let's take a pause for 3-4 minutes, then we'll resume. Huh? Hello. Yeah. Okay, guys. So let's resume. If we talk about expansion of telecom access in comparison to 2014, blue color 2014, green color 2025. So total connections, and this is in millions. Yeah, 930 million. It was in 2014 and 1231 million in 2025. Similarly, if we talk about expansion of internet broadband, 25.2 million, sorry, 25.2 crores in 2014 and 100.78 crores in 2025. Affordability driving surge in monthly data consumption. Average realization per subscription per GB wireless data. Okay. So how much revenue, how much money was spent for per GB wireless data? That means internet. Money spent per GB. It was 268 in 2014. Now per GB it is 8 rupees and 27 paisa. Now average monthly data consumption for internet, it was 0.06166 in 2014 in terms of GB. Now it is 25.24 in terms of GB. Chapter 10 is environment and climate change, and it is very important topic, and questions are continuously asked from this topic. Building a resilient, competitive, and development driven India. The resource intensity challenge of renewable energy. Solar power per GW. Materials required 18.5 trillion of silver, then polysilicon 2 to 3,000 trillion, aluminium 1,252 trillion. Okay, energy required for silver 4625 megawatt hour, that, and from this energy it is approximately 350 to 400 households per year would get illuminated by solar power. Okay, now in comparison to wind power, materials are again copper. Total material requirement is in trillions, 47,000 something. Truckload of 1194 truckload, that is 400-ton trucks. So nuclear energy, a pillar of India's clean and secure energy transition. Now, why nuclear energy? So first of all, the pollution generated by manufacturing nuclear power is way lesser than the pollution which is generated if power is generated from any other traditional source. So it is 24/7 clean power, low carbon, low intermittency, energy security. Then the power generated by nuclear fission, the process that occurs is nuclear fission, and the power is generated with the help of nuclear reactor. And the power generator is so high that it supports heavy industry, reliable baseload, tech-ready power. Then hydrogen production transports fuel and industrial use. Hydrogen is used industrially. Shanti Act, December 2025. It enables private and state participation, graded liability framework, protects victim compensation, and boosts manufacturing, R&D, and innovation. Recent environmental governance reforms. So government has launched several schemes for environment. Okay, as Parivesh 3.0, single window clearance, digital approval and post-clearance monitoring, nationwide uniform guidelines, consent to establish, operate through amendments in water and air acts, then streamlined mining regulation. These are critical strategic and atomic minerals. Third-party environmental audits are also being done according to environmental audit rules of 2025. Updated graded industry classification, it encourages better compliance to the fact that carbon emission should be low by the industry. Compliance to it is increased, promoting circular economy action plans covering 10 waste categories. That means these waste or the product should be recycled and should be used again, thereby ejection of pollution would be less. Then decriminalizing through the Jan Vishwas Act, there were several aspects of it that if you will violate the laws previously, it would be a criminal thing. You can be jailed for it, but that's not fair in case of business. So government has decriminalized several such acts. Rationalized green belt requirement for industries based on the pollution potential of the industrial estate, parks and individual industries. A green belt would be formed where it will be permitted to start the industry. Then if we talk about education and health, what works and what's next. So India's education landscape, key achievements. If we talk about school education, achieving 100% GER by 2030, that means 100% of the people of the wards of the student will attend the classes. The attendance would reach the 100%. 25 crore students enrolled in 14.7 lakh schools supported by over 1 crore teachers. 90.9% for grades 1 to 5, 90.3% for grades 6 to 8, 78.7% from 9 to 10, 58.4% for grade 11 and 12. Okay, moving on. Then they have got several aspects. I'll just brief it out to you. For example, inclusivity and equity. So for that, 500 hostels approved under PM Janjati Adivasi Nyay Maha Abhiyan. 2,682 Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalay are upgraded. Okay, multilingualism. So over 3,000 AI-driven interactive e-content, so that doesn't matter a student is from whichever state, speaks whichever native language, they can study. So AI-driven 3,000 interactive e-content, digital study material in 22 Indian languages under Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme. Universal FLN and NIPUN Bharat improved proficiency at the foundation level. Grade 3 Parak 2024 from 39% in 2021 to 57% in 2024 in language, and from 42% in 2021 to 65% in 2024 in mathematics. Academic structure per plus curriculum reforms. So curriculum reform undertaken as per NEP recommendation. Completely based assessment are being done under Parak. Teacher capacity strengthened through diet and SERTs. All these are schemes which focus on strengthening the capability and performance. Learner-centric education, Apar ID track learner progress across school, Vidya Samiksha Kendra monitors learning progress. Then internationalization, 100% FDI allowed in higher education. So international universities can come here and people can get educated from there. 15 foreign institutes are expected to set up campus in India. Okay, and as I told you, GER, the thing, general and more enrollment ratio, which we talked about the attendance, it would be 100%. Strengthening healthcare, 37% drop in IMR over the past decade. Life expectancy of 70.3 years in 2023. So now the life expectancy of an Indian has reached 70.3, and it was 49.7 years in 1976. The nutritional values and the calories per day intake has also improved. Kilocalorie per day in 2009-10 in rural areas was 2147. In 2023, in 2009-10, it was 2147. Now it is 2212. In urban, in 910 it was 2123. Now it is 2240. Okay. If we talk about proteins in grams per day, so in rural areas it was 59.3 in 2009-10. Now it is 61.8. In urban, 58.8. Now in 2009-10, now it is 63.4. So nutritional intake is rising, life expectancy is increasing, decline in the infant mortality rate together point to sustained improvement in population health and overall well-being. Government initiatives towards healthier lifestyle, awareness initiatives for tracking obesity, Eat Right campaign launched by government, 10% reduction in oil consumption, Khelo India, Fit India movement, आज से थोड़ा काम campaign, stop obesity and fight obesity campaign to fight the obesity, right? Technology-driven initiatives, Center of Excellence for AI-driven reforms at AIMS Delhi, AIMS Rishikesh, PGIMR Chandigarh, Clinical Decision Support System integrated with eSanjeevani, AI-based diabetic retinopathy screening, 14.32 crore beneficiaries registered under the portal. For mental health, combating digital addiction. This digital addiction, sticking to your mobile, is also a sort of mental illness. Anyway, safe internet guidelines for school, Pragyatta framework for screen time planning for digital education, NCPCR guidelines on screen time limits and online safety, online gaming regulation acts, and several games have been prohibited under it recently. Tail Manus 24/7 National Mental Health Helpline has been launched, 14416. Specialized treatment under the scheme Shut Clinic and Nimhans. Infrastructure strengthening, 1.8 plus lakh Ayushman Arogya Mandir operational with footfall of 506.50 crores. I hope you know what is Ayush Mandir Arogya Mandir. It is actually a hospital, a clinic, right? Nearly 3.78 lakh human resources provided to states. 42.78 crore Ayushman Bharat cards are generated. Under Ayushman Bharat card, you can get treatment up to 10 lakh for free. Next is employment and skill development, getting skilling right, catalyzing job growth, labor market dynamics for year 26. Okay. Red color is for financial year 26 first quarter. Yellow color is for financial year 26 second quarter. Okay. So you can see in the first quarter, it will be 55. In the second quarter, 55.4 increase. Okay. Labor force participation rate we talked about, right? LFPR. I said it anyway. So labor force participation rate, we are expecting an upward rise. In unemployment, again, pink color is for first quarter of 26. Yellow color is for second quarter of 26. So from 5.4% to 5.2%, there will be a decline downward. Then labor codes, balancing worker protection and flexibility, 29 labor laws consolidated into 4 labor codes enacted on 21st November. So the Labor Laws Act was simplified and it got enacted on 21st November 2025. And these were Code on Wages 2019, Code on Social Security 2020. All these were consolidated. Industrial Relation Code 2020, Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. These four were merged and new laws were formed. Then boost to formalization, recognition of fixed term employment, equal benefits for FT, full-time employees and the contract workers, mandatory employment letter for all, enhance social security, portability of benefits via universal account number, formal recognition of workers, then female participation, provision of enabling night shifts, expansion of maternity benefits, maternity leave, female employees get paid maternity leave, flexible work provision, work across all establishment, then growth in income, introduction of a statutory national floor wage, ensuring equal pay for equal work. Pay would not be just a minute. So discrimination will not be done on the basis of gender in pay. Ease of doing business, then employment expansion. So all the things that government has done here, implementation could result in the creation of 77 lakh jobs by the, this was said by SBI in November 2025. Enhancing female participation from 17-18, that is 22 3.3, in 23-24 it became 41.7%. A fall in the female unemployment rate from 5.6 to 3.2%. Getting skilling right, industry-driven skilling, national scheme for upgradation of industrial training institutes, that is ITI. ITI, I hope you are aware, to upgrade 10,000 ITIs, smart classroom, modern labs, digital content, industry-aligned courses being provided. Okay, then Flexi MOU scheme, firms providing customized training, nearly 10,000 trained by prominent enterprises. Then PMKVY Yojana 4.0, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Training in NSQF aligned job roles, collaboration with industrial sector. That means you can do internship in the companies to get the skills, and Rozgar and apprenticeship melas linking employers with job seekers. 13th is rural development and social progress, from participation to partnership. India's progress against poverty, extreme poverty rate down to 5.3% in 2022-23 as per the revised international poverty line of USD 3.0. Okay. Infrastructure, enhanced rural connectivity, over 99.6 eligible habitations have been provided with connectivity. Har Ghar Jal, over 81% of rural households have tap water connection. Housing for all, over 2.9 crore houses constructed. Track-driven initiatives, 3.28 lakh villages mapped, 2.76 crore property cards issued under Swamitwa. Empowering women through Namo Drone Didi, 500 drones provided for security purposes, leverage technology, drone, solar, and medicines for smart villages. Okay, skill development through DDU GKY state-led skill program for rural poor youth, focusing on employment, retention, progression, and third-party quality certification. 14th is evolution of the AI ecosystem in India, the way forward. AI ecosystem, trade-offs for India, navigating constraints for policy choices. AI frontier, few firms, greater AI capability. Frontier versus application, the trade-off that takes place. Scale and control or local alignment. Sector-specific solution, diverse set of firms under AI application. Cost reduction in productivity. This is scale versus inclusion. Labor augmentation and slower diffusion. That means AI will be induced, but it will not replace the humans. Government is working on such lines in India because India is labor intensive country. Incentive to innovate, pushing frontiers, proprietary versus open trade-off, shared innovation, adaptability, human capital for AI, building a future-ready workforce, redefining education and work from high school, then earn and learn apprenticeship projects that I just discussed with you, and then university. Flexible, integrated, credit-bearing pathways start early, building experience with education. Beyond white collar, filling gaps in high skill blue collar jobs, human centric jobs, high school jobs, metal work, early education, culinary arts, cooking. High potential, understaffed sectors requires hand-on expertise. So these sectors which are unconventional, but they have got huge earning potential and high job vacancies, government is focusing on such sectors by training and skilling the people or students in it. 15, the last is urbanization, making India's cities work for its citizens. Agglomeration economies underpin the logic of urbanization. Efficient worker, job matching, knowledge spillover, sharing of infra, service and specialized inputs, greater productivity, improved firm dynamics, stronger innovation outcomes. Tackle mobility issues in 2024, commuters in Bengaluru, Mumbai, and New Delhi lost 117 hours, 103 hours, and 76 hours respectively during rush hours. Okay. In recent years, India witnessed a massive expansion in public transport so that these hours which were lost can be compensated or should not happen in future. Metros, RRTs, and e-buses. Measures to improve outcomes, augment and digitize bus fleets, finance first e-bus deployment, mainstream last mile share mobility, transit oriented development, manage demand where geometry is most binding. Developing social order and civic sense. Cities must prioritize rule certainty over rule proliferation. Urban design and service delivery must be used as behavioral instruments. Incentives should be aligned with correct behavior. If you incentivize, it's a motivator. Using behavioral nudges to encourage social contact around civic sense, system-based civic sense, awareness rather than episodic messages. Efforts to strengthen civic order must recognize the distributional aspect of urban rules. Non-tangible aspects of future cities. So that's a graph. You can see integration of informality, encouraging creative density, street as social infrastructure, time as the central urban resource, governance that enables participation, cities that inspire imagination. All these are the domains in which government is working. Okay, so that's it, guys. I hope you understood everything. Thank you. We'll see you with union budget. Okay, bye bye.